Those tend to be abstract words, Love is a very abstract word. It's dependent upon what one means by that. One can turn that into any kind of meaning they wish.
Perhaps selflessness, then. Is there truth in putting others?
Absolutely not.
Thank you.
Hey, so my question is that wouldn't a person get a lot of strength from the fact that if he knew which day his life would end, if he could make a conscious decision that at 53 or 63, that would be the end day of my life and I have to structure my life according to that, would it give a person more strength?
Hello. Hey, Kapil. My question is memory a hindrance?
It doesn't matter on a practical basis. If it's something that you have and you subscribe to, it doesn't matter if it's a hindrance or not. It leads to the truth.
You've said that, I've heard you say it multiple times. You said, and I've experienced it for myself, how everything your mind tells you is a lie. And so as you expose yourself to truth, the mind will try to decipher and debunk and repackage it, even though there's nothing to do. And it seems like the mind will never be able to understand it. Does that well of lies ever get plugged? Does the mind ever come around?
Yes, it can. It really depends upon the systematicness of the journey, of one's journey towards truth, and the devotion that one has in it. But does it? It can. Will it? I cannot say that for any particular person. Is it possible? Yes, very much, very, very much so.
Thanks.
Spend more time in their domain, or is it something arrived at very first?
It's different for everyone.
I'm not able to find any reference points for the vision I'm developing for myself. There's no other human who has been to the places where I am thinking of going. So I'm not sure how to.
Is truth scary, or does it depend on the individual?
Hi, Kapil. Thanks for having me here. One of my biggest realizations that I've had since coming across your writings is that I've never really been honest with myself about what it is that I wanted, and that's largely been the reason why I haven't gotten what I wanted. But now I'm struggling to really figure out what it is that I want, and every time I stumble upon something, it just feels like another chase of the mind. Would you happen to have any guidance on how I can go about figuring out what it is that I truly want?
Hello. Thank you for letting me ask this question. I just recently switched jobs, and I liked the last job. I like this. I picked this job because it had better work-life experience, but now I'm regretting it because it's against my overall plan. I just want to.
I have no advice as to what you should do.
No, I just wanted to know, why do I feel like that?
I can't tell you why you feel like that. I don't know.
Thank you.
Thanks for accepting my request. So I'm in my 20s, and my question is, as we have talked a lot of times, heard from you a lot of times, that eventually we reach a point where we work only because we don't have any other option. So that's the way we stay sincere. So I want to ask you, what part of this pursuit of truth consume knowledge? And also another thing is, I usually stay sincere and I have a lot of big dreams, big ambitions, trying to work on my stuff. But sometimes it feels like the learning is too much. I try not to give up because the idea is important. But sometimes it doesn't work out, and you see other people socializing and dating and meeting new people. Sometimes it feels a little bit cluttered. So is it still part of the pursuit of truth, or does it have to be sincere every day all along? Because I'm still like my mind is cluttered most of the times.
And everyone's mind is cluttered most of the times. But to ask from the standpoint of, does it have to be every day, or does it have to be this and that? That's approaching it from really a faulty angle. It's I cannot tell you how sincere one needs to be and how many days. I mean,
Yeah, I understand.
That's just that's just so cosmetic. It has no meaning.
Thank you, Kapil. I wanted to ask, as I understood, most desires are shaped by society. I don't feel happy about anything now, though I've become much calmer. My question is, what is the truth about this feeling of happiness?
Happiness is a myth. And in fact, I think I wrote a discourse on the website quite recently about happiness. You may or may not wish to read that. It may help you, it may not.
Thank you. I will. Thank you.
Hey, Kapil. My question is, what do you think is the reason or the incentive for a human being to do good? I mean, some religions have like
Well, I don't believe in goodness.
Hi. What's an effective way to check who's benefiting from a certain narrative that is being propagated? Because as I see, internet is just becoming a war of the narratives of the world.
So, in my pursuit of truth, I find myself having to cleanse myself kind of the negative influences from the external that still affects me. Are the influences something to notice as it comes in before taking hold in the mind, or can it be something only identified after the influence takes place, or does the timing?
Well, they've already taken place for as long as you've been alive.
Right.
So they're already there. There's no waiting.
Hello, Dr. Gupta. As always, it's an honor to speak to you. Thanks to your work, I gained a good amount of purity pursuing my craft, and I could do it every day and like all day long. And there's this pattern that I see over and over again. It's like every time when I pursue my craft, after a while, the mind comes back alive and produces some sort of like negative emotions or craving for a different stimulus, and I feel like forced to like take a break. And I'm really trying to understand it deeper. What is the cause of this pattern? Like, why the mind?
No, the cause is the mind. That's what the mind does.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, Kapil. So my question is, there is a conflict between what actually I am and what I should be. It's constantly going on. I mean, whenever I try to learn something, so right now I don't know anything about that topic or what I'm learning, but I'm projecting or seeing myself as I have from future, that what I will be, and I'm living in that moment. So that conflict is always going on about what actually I am and what I should be. So how does it happen? I mean, the mind always plays that game.
I'm not sure. The question is rather confusing.
I mean,
I don't know what you. I'm not sure what you're asking.
I'm asking, there is a conflict between what actually I am right now and what I should be.
Well, there is no should be.
But the mind is always convincing that I will become better and become good or all that. The mind is
Well,
not.
that's just you have to. I cannot tell you what to do. I'm
Yes,
just
yes,
saying
yes.
there's no.
I know. You can't. Yes.
Hi, Kapil. Thanks for taking my question. So, my problem is I have extreme amount of social anxiety. So that has become almost 99% of my life. And I can't seem to break away from that pattern no matter what I do, no matter what I read. It just even to ask this question, I've been practicing. And so, what is the truth behind this, and how can I get away from it?
There's no how I can get away from it. The truth behind it is ego.
Hello, my question is how does one enter a flow state voluntarily? Like, I am always cloud.
Hello. In a practical sense, does suffering and urgency bring one closer to the truth, or is that simple?
It can. But if one views that as, well, I'm suffering, so this should bring me to the truth, then no. But yes, it is. It is very often the case that such things leads one to look in places that they have not looked before, because the places that they have looked before have caused them suffering.
Talk about the state of mindlessness, but true mindlessness also implies a complete dissociation with societies, and it comes with the advantage that you get dissociated with its adverse elements. But how do you know when you're too far gone, right? There has to be a disadvantage too.
Yeah, I think one. Well, go ahead and complete your sentence. The disadvantage to. I'm assuming that you're saying there has to be a disadvantage to mindlessness, or a disadvantage to leaving society, or both.
No, I think to achieve mindlessness, one has to dissociate, and I'm thinking that there are advantages to that. But what about the disadvantages, and when to know that you're too far gone?
I think that if someone views things from the standpoint of disadvantage and advantage, then they don't really want it.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And there should be no compulsion that one should seek anything. If someone is truly devoted to it, then they are. And if they are not, then they're not. One is not good and the other is not bad. But if one has a advantage and disadvantage to something, and that something is related to these types of things that I write about, the devotion is far too great for one to muster that up if they believe that in pursuing it, there's good and bad to it, and there's advantages and disadvantages. There's way too much involved for them for that kind of outcome of advantages and disadvantages. This is for the individual who that's what they want.
But should there not be any fear also?
There's no should to anything. There's no should to anything.
Okay.
The word should be abolished. There's no should. It's not good or bad. There's not a single intent in any of my words or writings which in any way, even in the shadow of a way, suggests that someone should, or it would be advantageous for them to, or it would be healthy and good for them to. I don't recommend anything to anyone. And if somebody asks me, do I recommend truth? No, I don't. I honestly don't. I don't recommend truth. I don't recommend devotion. I don't recommend sincerity. I don't recommend success. I recommend nothing. If it arises in your heart, then it does. But if you do it because I said so, it's finished before it begins. So if you view in it advantages and disadvantages, so be it. And that's honest. That's fine. But then it isn't for you. There's not a chance in the world that you can attain it.
Thank you.
Hello. How does one know they've arrived at truth? And is truth realized in the mind or somewhere deeper?
Okay, number one, it doesn't matter if one wants to know or not. The person who asks, how do I know, is the person who is chasing it. Number two, truth is not found in the mind. Truth is found beyond the mind.
My question is, what stops a person from understanding?
That depends upon the person.
You on a public platform. I want to erase all the conditioning that is blocking me from reaching where I want to go and from living in truth in my art. So far, I only have the exposure to truth from your writings, which has led me to make observations about myself and see the conditioning everywhere. So my question is there a scalpel that is more powerful, more effective than exposure and making observations in permanently removing conditioning?
I think exposure is really the among the most effective means, primarily because the reason for delusion and the reason for being filled with untruths is the exposure to untruth. And when one has been exposed to untruth for their entire life, as basically all of people in society have, then that is going to be the biggest loudspeaker in their brain. That's what's going to be in their bones because it's been there for so long. Therefore, the most immediate thing is really even the recognition that what they have inside them is untrue. Because without even realizing that, then there's no chance for anything. And that comes from exposure.
Thank you.
Make sense of the world, people tend to gravitate towards art and philosophy. Finding a good book makes them feel self-actualized. It gives them a little sense of growth. Do you think that there's any truth to that, art and philosophy?
So there's no truth to. I mean, there's truth to the fact that it makes them feel like they're growing, but self-help and these kind of things don't really do much of anything lasting to anyone.
Is it possible to guide a child to the awareness of truth so that they might grow up with it? Thanks.
Yeah, how are they going to grow up with it is if the parent themselves is devoted to truth.
Thanks.
I resonate with deeply, but it's prescriptive, and I think there's some untruth in it. So my question is, does exposure to prescriptive truth bring one closer to truth, or if they recognize the prescription?
No. If it's a prescription, it can't be truth. But it would also be untrue to say that you should not follow the prescription. If it resonates with you and you feel like you wish to follow the prescription, then by all means. But there is no truth. There is no truth that can be attained by way of prescription. Any prescription, any method, any technique is only untruth, no matter how nice and how spiritual and how beautified the words may be, it is untruth.
Solutions in all the case, in all while decision making in life,
in various scenarios will lead us to the truth.
If the intuition can be native, but typically it's corrupted, and therefore one never really knows if the intuition they're following is conditioning. So every human being is corrupted by society and spirituality and self-help and books and media and gurus and authors and priests and pundits and media and television and news and everything, friends especially. Everyone is corrupted. And therefore, when that corruption gets inside the human psyche, inside the human, then you don't really know what is native and what is not anymore. So you may be following what you think is intuition, but you may simply be following conditioning, thinking that it's intuition.
Is there a way to uncondition to get back to the truth?
Exposure. Through exposure. Exposure to truth. And the more one is exposed, the more he fertilizes the growth of truth within them. And that has the possibility of overgrowing all of the untruth. But if the only exposure that one has, which is basically everyone, is that to untruth, then if untruth is what you eat, and untruth is what you drink, and untruth is what you hear, and untruth is what you speak, there can only be untruth inside.
Can you hear me?
If I'm looking to peel back the layers of untruth, how do I expose myself to more truth?
What do you mean by how do you expose? You can expose it. You expose it to you find truth somewhere, be it through writings or through whatever it may be, and you expose yourself to it.
And that's how I figure out.
You're getting too prescriptive now. You're turning it too much into a method now. Originally, originally the question was fine, but now you're getting too howy.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe any?
I don't believe anything.
Okay. Does everybody has some kind of rare DNA? It's just the matter of discovering it. Like, is it like anybody can through the process of constant iteration find something that is very good at it and can be the best in the world at?
It depends upon their level of drive. But does everyone have the capability to discover their talent? Sure. It just depends how badly they want to do it.
What should one chase in life? If not, what's the purpose of life?
When one is trying to seek exposure to truth, but they feel lost in that endeavor, how do they reorient themselves to truth?
Why would you feel lost in the endeavor of exposure?
Disillusionment.
I don't know what that means. Are you able to find something that is truth and expose yourself to it?
Definitively, yes. Yes, it needs to.
So then what's the problem?
Something for me to think about. Thank you.
Hi, Kapil. Thank you for letting me speak. I just wanted to tell that naturally, without any efforts, by just reading your work, by listening to you, I get very peaceful and blissed out. But it doesn't last; it just goes away. So, should I assume that my DNA is not that, because of which it just goes away, and I again fall into that pit?
So let me ask you: how old are you?
32.
Okay. And you've been reading my work, not that you should have, but if you, for whatever reason, you've decided to read my work, how long have you been reading?
Almost a year, like 10 months.
Okay. So you've had 32 years of exposure to untruth.
Yeah.
And you've had 1 year of exposure to truth.
Yeah.
So how is it that you can come to the conclusion that you must not have the DNA, since after 1 year versus 32 years, you have it what you want to last does not last?
I understand. That answers.
Hey, thanks for doing this today, or this evening, I should say. What's your perspective on fear as it relates to performance?
Too open-ended of a question.
Good evening, Dr. Gupta. If life has no purpose, which I agree with, those who give purpose to their life, are they inherently living untruth, or am I looking at that the wrong way?
I mean, it doesn't really matter. All that matters is you. So what does it matter what those do?
Because I'm a coach and I coach other people.
Yeah, being a coach is a very dangerous job.
You're right, it is.
And really ineffective as well. No one can be coached. Coaching another human being is false. Not that you should stop, but it brings up questions like the one you asked, which has no meaning, and it makes you ponder things which have no relevance, because you are coaching the uncoachable, and a human being wasn't meant to be coached in the first place. Therefore, it's a defeatist endeavor which has no value in it.
Thank you.
Well, I have a question. That is it just the responsibility of a child to understand what their parents are expecting, or especially if they're always conflicting, and if or a child should always keep trying?
You know, well, responsibility is very much a societal term. Responsibility doesn't really have much meaning. Human beings don't do things according to responsibility. Responsibility is a burden. So if there's conflict, then there's reasons for the conflict, and one has to examine the truth about things, as opposed to, if I say this, then so and so should follow, or if they say this, then X, Y, and Z. Interpersonal relations are not run through responsibility.
So how can we come out of this guilt that I'm not a good son, or out of that feeling that I'm doing something wrong if I'm not?
There's no how.
Mm-hmm.
Chances are you are doing things wrong. The problem arises when you try to do things right, because such things don't exist. The entire way through which you're looking at it is false, but you're unfortunately not ready because you're looking at it from that, and that makes sense to you, and that's the only thing that makes sense to you, to look at it through that lens. You're not really ready to look at it through the lens of truth.
Hello, sir, can I speak? How can we differentiate between what is a prescription, or how can we make something which is not which is a prescription to which is not a prescription?
I don't know what you're asking.
No question. I just wanted to thank you for sharing the truth. It's helped me somehow, some way, stop using alcohol, drugs, just by simply reading your work. So thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't have a question either. Just wanted to thank you for being a real nigga, man. Appreciate you.
Does desperation lead to the overwhelming desire to find the truth? Or is it, you have to develop your instinct? Is that the only way? By experiencing and truly understanding?
Well, what leads to it leads to it. But if, obviously the more desperate someone is for something, then the higher chances they'll get it. What is necessary and what is not necessary, and to which degree, that's all variable and cannot be predicted. But yes, obviously the more desperate someone is for something and the more exposed they have become to it, then yes, the possibilities are higher, but it isn't a prescriptive thing.
Thank you.
Hi, Kapil. I just wanted to say thank you for your work.
Sure.
Hello. When we are conscious of ourselves, can there be a direct perception?
You're conflating different things. Can there be a direct perception? Sure, but the word consciousness is a very overused and vague term.
I actually have a problem that I want to live peacefully, but I actually want to live in my own what I love. I want to do what I do, but I feel it hard because people don't want me to do that. It's like people want my attention all the time. I want to live peacefully. I don't want anyone to disturb anyone, nothing like that. So why? How can I just get out of this and still be peaceful and just live a peaceful life? Just do what I want.
I can't answer that for you, for your specific circumstance.
Hi, Kapil. I just want to ask that the curiosity or the need that you are talking about the truth, isn't it also coming from the part of our brain which is asking for curiosity, something motivation or inspiration that's made for survival even? So what's the point of finding the truth? It's again survival instinct.
You're an intellectual, so therefore it's going to be very difficult for you to understand.
Hi, Kapil. I'm just wanting to I'm wanting to ask if you could speak a little bit on good and bad, because I have a deep resonant feeling within me that there is no good, there is no bad. I understand that from the mind as if there's no experience is good nor bad, and what the ego runs into the issue with is when the ego attaches meaning to an experience, whether that then is good or bad. And if it's bad, then it can negatively influence the individual if they associate that meaning. I believe that there is no good and bad in terms of the experience. It just matters what you associate meaning towards. But I just want to understand a little bit from your perspective how you see the concepts of good and bad from your own experience, please.
No, there is no good and bad. But society has created rules, and therefore good and bad is seen with regard to the rules. Now that doesn't mean that one should commit crimes and do those types of things. Because then that's harming people. But there's no good and bad in the sense of as if it's related to shoulds and should nots. There's no should and should not. Human beings must find things within themselves as opposed to relying upon the tenets and principles. And that's where good and bad usually arises. This is good and that's bad for you, and you should do this and you shouldn't do that. And that doesn't really go anywhere. Once again, the person who is insincere will pervert that by saying, well, since there's no good and bad, I'm going to go harm people. And, that's just, that's not even worth going into, because that's just ignorance. That individual is not ready for that knowledge, because they're just taking advantage of it. But from the standpoint of rule following, that you should try to make yourself better, or you should become more spiritual, or you should become more aware, or whatever it is. doesn't go anywhere because these are tenets that are being forced upon the individual from the outside.
Hi, Kapil. My question is, could we observe truth in the world when we are extremely intertwined within the world itself? Or are there any necessary preconditions?
Well, there is no truth in the world. So the world is false. Society is false.
If intellectually one keeps questioning with sincerity, one keeps questioning every experience, every thought, and the intellect itself, is there any possibility that one may arrive at or understand the truth at the end of the journey?
Well, not in the way that you're speaking about it, because you're speaking about it in a very intellectual and prescriptive way. That you're going to keep questioning and questioning. That's very intellectual and that's very prescriptive. So no, there's that done in that way. The answer is no, because it isn't about the method. It's about what's in the heart.
Hi, Kapil. Let me know if I need to speak up because I don't want to wake anyone up. But for 17 years, I've been listening to you for like about a year now. I'm 17 now, but for the past 16, 17 years, I've been intellectual. I've always tried to flex how much I know and look at me. I'm so much superior to you, and I'm just like, now that I listen to you, it's like I just don't want to live the way that I've been living. But whenever you say you can't improve yourself, that kind of sounds like a contradiction to me, because you deal with high performance athletes trying to take their game to the next level. So like people on the outside, like,
no, I don't try to take anybody's game to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
That happens by itself. I don't try to improve anybody. It isn't about improvement. It's about learning the truth.
Okay.
When the truth is learned, then the levels, if one does not know a truth and then they learn a truth, they jump automatically. There's no improvement.
Okay.
Is it true that we learn fear, that we do not have fear until we learn it? As young children, as babies, we have no fear?
I don't know if it's how much of it is learned, and how much of it is innate, and how much of it comes about just from contact with the world. And I don't know to what extent these things are.
Hello, Kapil. How's it going? My question is, a few questions ago you spoke about desire and, like a deep longing to find the truth is, I guess, the only way to make it happen. So whether it's called truth or no mind or adamant or like whatever you call it, what's the difference between seeking that and, another desire? Like, isn't it all coming from the mind and it's just going to be like an endless chase? I don't understand how a desire for truth and escaping the mind actually leads to, escaping the mind. It seems contradictory.
It depends upon one's intent. Typically, people do these things because they think it's good and it's cool and it's spiritual. And if it's done from that sense, then essentially it's a chase for spirituality. Then it's no different than chasing materialism. Spirituality is materialism. There's no difference. But if something is done from the standpoint of truly getting somewhere in their life, not so that they can, put it on their CV, but because they, for whatever reason, the desire is genuine, as opposed to the desire for a notch in the belt, then there's a difference.
And just a follow up, so like what is that difference? If it's still a desire coming from the mind, isn't that still being entrapped by the mind? Like, How?
No, I don't think that you heard the answer. I think that you're just stuck on getting the definitional answer that you're looking for. When I gave you the essence, you're still looking for the definition.
Thank you.
Good day. I don't know the protocol if I'm meant to come in and ask the question or I should be requested to speak.
Go ahead and ask.
Oh, thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. My question would be, how does one truly find out their belief system and how it's set up, their paradigm, and therefore then how to adapt it to a new belief system that would be more empowering for them?
Beliefs have no meaning, empowerment has no meaning, and there is no how.
Hi, Kapil. Am I audible? Hello?
Hi, Kapil. My question is, recently in a blog you had mentioned that truth can be given to somebody only who's ready for the truth. So can you explain a little bit what do you mean by when a person is ready for the truth, or when is a person ready for the truth? Even though the sincerity is there, what do you mean by readiness for the truth? Thank you.
So first of all, I don't write blogs. I write discourses.
So sorry about it.
Number two, when one is ready for the truth, they know inside them if they're looking for more prescriptions or they genuinely want the truth.
Yeah.
They know inside themselves.
Yeah, so sincerity and readiness are kind of same, is it?
Yes, you could say that. You could say that to some degree.
Okay, thanks, Kapil.
Can you hear me? Hello, Kapil. Can you hear me? Many things can resonate with someone, make them feel good, different, anew, refreshed. Some even report seeing the light or having their come to Jesus moment. Yet I have formerly felt what I have formerly felt as truth turned out to be untruth. So my question, with an infinite universe of information, how may a seeker distinguish truth?
Don't listen to information. Find out what resonates with you deeply and test it for yourself.
Many things resonate, but they turn out to be rabbit holes of falsehoods or delusions.
Yeah, and one way you can tell is through prescriptions. If there's prescriptions, it's false.
All right. I have one more question, if you don't mind. It's quick. One cannot unsee something. I cannot unlearn English. How does one approach overcoming indoctrination besides exposure to the truth? Because
it's not. It is exposure to the truth. Through exposure to the truth, one recognizes, one compares to all that one has learned to be lies.
I see. Thank you.
Hello. Hi. I wanted to ask about what is the quest for finding meaning in life. Is that a truth or a lie?
Life has no meaning.
Is it possible to lead people?
No.
Thank you.
Well, it's possible to lead people to untruth. It is not possible to lead people to truth as a leader, as an intention. Group anything is false.
Hi, Kapil. Thanks for letting me speak. First of all, I must say, about a year ago, I I stumbled upon your room on Clubhouse, and ever since I've been consuming everything I could get on from your work, and it really transformed my life in many ways. So thank you very much for that. My question is basically about the conditioning of the body and involuntary actions of the body. I understand that by exposure you can change, I guess, your mind, and there's nothing of doing to change that. What I'm trying to ask is about the body's conditioning. For example, involuntary actions such as biting nails. I guess that's something that happens because the mind is not present and your body is doing its conditioned behavior, such as biting nails. And when you're present, you won't be doing that. But is there, I guess...
I don't know. The question doesn't interest me because every human being is suffering. So you're talking about biting nails. Who cares? Every human being is suffering. Every human being is suffering from all sorts of turmoils. There are acute problems in every human being's life that they wake up with every single day. They live through conflicts, they live through sorrow, live through adversity and anxiety and fear. Those are the immediate concerns of the human organism. To look in this irrelevant, very minuscule thing that you're talking about has of no interest to me.
Hi, I just wanted to ask that regarding truth, is it a consistent thing? Like, do we have to strive for it every day?
Wait, but there's no have to anything. There's no we anything. There's no we. There's no group. There's no mass anything. And there's no have to anything. If an individual feels driven or compelled internally to do so, then they will likely move forward with it. But it is not a suggestion. It is not a recommendation. It is not something that I think you should do. So before the question goes any further, there is no we. There's only you. And there is no should, and there is no must, and there is no recommendations. Now you can ask your question.
So it's just that constant striving all along?
There's no reason for striving. Striving is hope. If one genuinely wants something, then they devote themselves to it. If they don't, then they don't. If they don't want something, they hope for it. If they genuinely want something, then they devote themselves to it. Not that they should. Not that they should devote. Not that they should want. Just if they do, they do. If they don't, they don't. There's no striving.
This is Jem. Thank you.
Hello. Hi, Kapil. So this is Martin here. I became your fan after listening to this Naval's podcast, Conquering Your Mind. So there you have mentioned prescriptions don't work. So what you want is a desire. So the desire will tell you the how to rather than the other way around. So my question is, in specific, for example, if you take career, I'm having a desire to do something, but that desire has no market needs. So in this case, if I pursue that desire, I will suffer to pay my bills. So how to handle this? I mean, your advice in the...
There's no way to handle it. What is there to handle? There's no advice. If you like something that has no market value, okay, very well. So what? So then either you do it because you continue to do it because you like it, or you abandon it because there's no market value. Both ways make sense. There's no advice.
Okay, got it.
Hello, Dr. Gupta. One thing I'm failing to see the truth in and struggle with is in the terms of business. I know comments about, and we in business, I've benefited greatly from networking with people, and that has helped my business make more money and help my life. And I've met great friends. So, I guess in the context of that, what would be the net negative of group in the terms of in business?
Well, I could answer that question, but there's no reason to answer it. And the reason there's no reason to answer it is because you, as you have mentioned, you have gained benefit from it. And typically, let me just say that when I say talking about we and the group, I'm talking about like group enlightenment or trying to make a group, mass wisdom, or trying to lead a group towards realization, or through nonsensical ideas such as meditation and mindfulness. Those things don't work. But regardless of going any further, I mean, you have found that whatever your dealings with groups it has provided you benefit. So it doesn't matter what I say. In fact, it would be foolish to ask the question. It doesn't matter what the downside is, because any downside that I give you would only be theoretical. And I'm not even recommending that you should or should not follow groups. The fact that you have related to groups and that it has provided you benefit, that's really all that matters from a practical perspective. Now, that is not the group situation, just to be clear, that I'm talking about. But I think it illustrates the point that if someone is better, even if someone is doing mindfulness and they're gaining great benefit from it, it would be silly to stop. There's no point in even asking the question.
Thank you.
Hi. Hello. Every morning I go for a walk in a nice park here in India. I get really mad at the litter bugs who have made a mess the day before, and it ruins my entire day. What am I missing?
Hello, doctor. So my friend is in deep sorrow. Her loved one passed away, and she's asking me for help, asking me how-tos and advice, and now we are in prescriptive land. There's nothing wrong with it, but a prescriptive question requires a prescriptive answer, and that's just not effective in a situation like this. But I feel if I tell her the truth, on the surface, it sounds dismissive. So now I'm caught in a situation that I don't know what to do.
I can't advise you what to say.
Fair enough.
Hello, doctor. Actually, I have one.
Is there a way to access our subconscious mind and find answers or questions?
Hello.
Hi, Kapil, again. Is the truth you are talking about different or same for everyone? As in, it would be prescriptive if it would be selective.
There are universal truths, but then there are also truths in every situation.
Can you elaborate on that? Thank you.
I don't like questions that are elaborate. I mean, if you have a specific question, you have a specific question. I mean, there's a lot. It depends on what the specific question is. There's many ways to answer that question. The biggest obstacle on the path of truth is untruth. And it's the following spirituality and self-help and all of these things, because those lead one back into prescriptions. Prescriptions are one of the foundations of the obstacles to truth.
Hi, Kapil. I just wanted to ask, what exactly is not a concept?
Everything that you know is a concept.
Thank you.
Hello. Hello, sir. I do overthinking a lot and I am living in fear all the time. And it seems like it happening automatically and I have no control on it.
I can't tell you what to do about it. Good night.